Okay, so good evening, everybody. So I'll be starting a new series of interviews. Now I'll be tackling how to get started in racing in the Philippines. I am here tonight with Christian Ho, and he'll be discussing with us right now his experiences from racing over the years, and also how other enthusiasts can also get started in racing. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's start with the question in who is Christian Ho?
Okay, good evening, Keanu. Good evening to everybody. Okay, so to introduce myself, I'm Chris Ho, and I'm an enthusiast, a track enthusiast, track rat, and I'm into time trials, time attack, Touge Battle.
Nice, nice.
So I've been driving for around a little over 3 years now, making sure that I always improve on myself by going to the track whenever I'm in the Philippines. So I don't live in the Philippines. I'm working abroad as an OFW. I go back about once a month, and I try to make sure every month I'm able to visit the track either by myself or with my friends or joining an event like Touge Battle or Sparko Cup, where I can test out my new knowledge, get some seat time, and improve continuously.
Nice, nice.
Mm.
Also, shout out to the group Touge Battle, to Easy Ligaya, and to Pen Alunan. I'm actually
Yeah.
talking to one of the enthusiasts of your discipline. so,
Yep.
so to continue with that, what got you into the world of racing? Like, what sparked that moment in time to actually get into racing?
Okay. So there's a long story and a short story to this. Uh, the long story is my family starting with my grandfather and passed on to my dad and his siblings. We were actually into automotive parts and tires business. So that means while I was growing up, I was heavily exposed to cars, with my dad influencing me the most. So every weekend, every day actually, I would see deliveries of tires sa bodega behind the home. And
Yeah,
weekends, I would go on karting or bumper cars. So, and then my toys would be like remote control cars and matchbox. So everything related to cars. So that's how I got into it. And over the years, that interest never went away. The short story is how I got into it. It's actually very serendipitous. I mean, um, I was just back in 2016. I was just browsing Facebook and then came across the page of Touge Battle. And then I said, wow, this is pretty cool. So these are like normal street cars being used to do like a weekend race. So that's how I got into it. I messaged Easy in 2016.
yeah,
And he welcomed me and asked me to join. So at first, nanood lang ako sa BRC. I didn't join. I was too scared and intimidated. And then after watching one round, I joined the last round of 2016. So that's how I got into it. And after that, tuloy-tuloy na siya. I never got out of it anymore after that. I always just join and join and join.
nice, nice. Wow, actually goes all the way back, and a lot of
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
challenges that happened along the way, and actually majorly some triumphs and
mm-hmm.
people met along the way through Tokyo. Nice, nice.
Yeah, it's a whole new world of friends actually because what how I would describe it is it may be for most people their most real group of friends because you share the same passion. It's not circumstantial friends. I mean, you all
Yeah,
go there from different walks of life,
yeah,
different upbringings, but you get together and you talk about the same thing. And despite the differences, so it really brings people together. That's what I like about it.
Nice, nice. Wow. That's actually pretty true, and it's also prevalent in pretty much in every racing discipline here in the Philippines and even around the world.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
also, the viewers would like to know also, how did you start out in sim racing? Like, what was that car, or what was that first race, and how
Oh,
did you learn how to race? Also.
okay. So um, in 2015, early 2015, my friend and I, my buddy and I went to the States for a short vacation. So it was in California, starting out from Los Angeles and then ending in San Francisco. So we had to rent a car.
Wow. Hmm.
Okay. So he said, "Oi, here there's a lot of choices here in America, but like the cheap ones for American cars, and like you can get a V8 like a Camaro for cheap." So I was okay, let's rent a V8. We never did, never
Hmm.
drove one.
Hmm.
And surprisingly, it was a very, very easy car to drive. It's fast, but it's very light.
Hmm.
The steering is light, the brakes are strong, so you don't feel like you're lugging like a big, big car around. So I said, okay, uh, back in 2015, that was about half a year before my 30th birthday. So after that trip, I loved that car so much. I said, I better get myself a car. I've never gotten myself a car, my own car in Philippines. And then I think this is the time that I should give myself a birthday present for my 30th birthday. So, mahal yung Camaro masyado. Mahal yung Chevy Camaros in the Philippines are overpriced. Okay.
True. True.
But the Mustang is a good value. It's easily 20% cheaper. Sabi ko, sige, I'll get a Mustang instead. The all-new independent rear suspension Mustang, they say. So I
Yeah.
got that. I was the first batch, May 2015. And I got it for a year, used that as a road trip car
Hmm.
with my girlfriend. So umiikot lang kami. And then a year later, that's when I got into Toge because of like the Facebook posts of Sina Easy. So of course, that being my only car, I used that as my race car. But it was really just a stock car. Okay, I had no expectations. I just wanted to make the most out of it. I mean, I paid for it, right?
Yeah.
I better make sure it just doesn't sit in the garage. So, ayoko ng mga garage queen eh. Kasi binayad mo yung, laki ng binayad mo for the car.
Mhm.
And then nakaupo lang siya doon, not doing anything. So you might as well enjoy every bit of it, diba? Every
True.
peso that you paid for it.
Hmm.
So I use that as my car. And I still use that now. And it's still not what you call heavily modified. I guess it's what you'd call moderately modified, just the essentials. If you want, I can discuss it later on.
Sure. Sure. By all means. Actually, to start out with a Mustang and Touge Battle, and wow, I'm pretty sure the classes are actually one make or
Uh,
same class,
they
right?
the classing system is Touge Battle is based on displacement, pretty much.
Oh, I see.
Okay, and with a tire tread wear limit. Okay,
Ah,
so
yeah, yeah,
in Philippines is JDM land. I mean, let's face it, right? I mean,
that's true.
everybody is into Japanese. Maybe because of Initial D, it's a
Yes.
very very big influence with us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And by virtue of us being not a very rich country, so we would opt for Japanese cars, which are better value than European counterparts, diba? And better and cheaper than American cars. Kasi mas malapit yung shipping, it
Yeah,
will cost a lot cheaper. Although in the States, of course, American cars are the cheapest. No?
true.
But yeah, so circumstantially, naging JDM. So it was a very first Mustang that joined Touge Battle at that time.
Oh, okay.
And everybody had very low expectations of it because the reputation is American cars can only go straight. It can't corner. So surprisingly, during that first round,
Mm-hmm.
out of about 30 participants, during morning qualifying, I came in number two, next to the a legendary STI driven by my friend Hernel Castillo.
Wow.
So everybody was surprised. I was surprised myself. I didn't expect that. It was my first time to join a race and second time to go to a track actually. So very surprised with that. And it's a bone stock car. Okay. But of course, I mean, prior to joining that, I did my research. So I made sure I watched instructional videos of how to drive on track. There's a very good driver and a TV, I guess, host. His name is Randy Pobst of Motor Trend. So
Mhm.
he has a series on YouTube on how to drive at the track, starting from braking, ganyan, cornering, throttle application, racecraft, everything. So I watched all that and made sure I had, I guess, a decent knowledge of how it's supposed to be done. So I used that in my first race and it worked out.
Mhm.
I got the second fastest time for the entire day. So and I went against a guy who's very very good with a very good car, and our lap time difference was exactly 1 second. So I was very happy with that.
Whoa.
That encouraged me to pursue this further. That's the story of it.
Wow. Wow. That was pretty big actually. To be actually at least 1 second behind the number one guy.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and many people are always saying that it's good to learn first with a weak car and drive a slow car fast. Diba? Tama?
True.
Yeah, that's what you always hear.
Hmm.
But in my experience, uh, contrary to that belief, I would say that um, starting with a powerful car or a difficult car to drive and learning how to drive that gradually makes it a lot easier for everyone to move to an easier car, a weaker car. So for like ako nasanay ako my first car and the learner car ko yung Mustang, which is 400 horsepower rear wheel drive car in a very heavy one. I learned how to drive that properly. I for me it's not difficult to control. So now after being able to drive other cars, like I also have a Civic. For me, I'm able to maximize the Civic within one session of driving it kaagad. Mas madali kasi CCU na siya eh. It's not intimidating anymore. It's an easier thing to handle. So that like my friends ask me to drive different cars. Lotus,
Mm.
Vios, Mazda 2, all these different cars. And for me, it's easy. It's not difficult. I mean, I can match their best time the first time I drive their cars. It's easier to find the limits of a weaker car if you're used to the limits of a stronger car. So that's my personal experience with this whole Mustang thing.
Nice, nice. Wow. I actually never saw it in that avenue, but come to think of it, it actually does make sense. Yeah.
Diba? Mm.
Yeah. Because to relate it to my experience, I started out with a Subaru Impreza WRX, and
Malakas yun.
it was so strong, it was so powerful. Then I was given a Vios. Then for some
Mm.
reason, in that Enchanted Kingdom race, it was actually a lot beside Enchanted Kingdom where there was a rallycross. It was hosted by Tito Ejendeliaco at the time. I
Ah,
was able to make at least top three. So
right away, diba?
just yeah, right away. Sabi ko, wow, that's actually pretty good. I
Diba?
only
Parang
I only use yeah.
mas ma-maximize mo kaagad yung weaker car kasi hindi ka na intimidated with the limits of the weaker car.
Yeah, parang you can
Diba?
already imagine if it were this speed, parang okay, mangyayari to. Pero at
Oh,
least now
yun.
you can
Exactly.
you can avoid it na, no? Yeah.
Oo, oo. Wala na yung realm of the unknown. Kasi
Yes.
mas mataas ka na sanay eh, di ba?
Mm.
Oo. So,
Okay.
kumbaga, when you're flying, let's say you flew a plane, nakapunta ka na sa sobrang taas eh. So, if you're given a plane that flies very low, parang been there, done that, it's easier. Di ba?
It's nothing na. Yeah. Oh,
Oo.
no. Yeah. Wow. So to the viewers out there,
Um,
it's all a matter of perspective and mindset as well. Since if
mhm.
you if you think the stronger car is very hard to control, I'm pretty sure that's just in the start. But if you're actually into it, you will see the value behind what we're discussing here. So I guarantee
Yeah,
you
don't be afraid. If you're intimidated with a stronger car, if that's your first car, then drive it slower and then just gradually increase your pace.
yeah,
Diba? But it's good for me. It's there's virtue in driving a powerful car first before moving on to a weaker car.
actually, yeah.
Mm.
And I'd say it's actually control as well, since you know for a fact that you want power, it will give you power. But now I think if you start with a stronger car, control is basically overpowers like the
Mm.
virtue as a
Mm.
driver, right?
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Wow. Actually, to add to that as well, how would you recommend someone who has never heard of racing to try it out?
Well, speaking from experience, I think the first step really is to if you hear of an event, whether it's a Touge Battle event or Clubman Racing, Sparkle Force, is you go to the venue and watch. So look at how people do it. It's better if you bring a friend along, or if you already have a friend who's in this sport, to go there with them, just to familiarize yourself and to avoid being, intimidated too much. So after watching, then just feel free to join. You don't expect that you will win right away. You just do it for fun, recreationally, like we all are doing it right now here in the Philippines. And I don't
Definitely.
think there's any pro racing in Philippines. So you do it to have fun, and to learn is to have fun, and to be with other people and who share the same passion is good enough. So don't be intimidated. Watch first, just one race, then you join the next one. That's good enough.
Nice, nice. Wow. It's actually pretty true. And to add on to also to what you shared as well, one huge chunk of it is actually network, if I'm right. Like if you actually have
Yes.
a friend who is into it and he can introduce you even without the formalities and everything, it's just right there.
Yes. Actually,
Actually,
in my case, wala talaga akong kilala sa industry before.
oh,
So I just sent a message to Toge Battle page, which is being handled by Easy, and he's the one who replied to me. And I realized when I got there, everyone's so friendly. I really think that Toge Battle has the friendliest people and organizers around. It's really not intimidating at all. It's nothing serious. It's very recreational. You're not racing for money. You're
definitely.
racing just to have fun, in a very safe environment. So that's a good avenue to start, whether it's Toga Battle or Clubman Racing, both organized by the same people.
Wow. To Toge Battle, wow, you're getting numerous shout outs from enthusiasts. And also I hope to get in touch with more enthusiasts, especially to Toge Battle, because you guys are pretty much everywhere, especially in the Philippines. And to those who's been wanting to model a Gunsai Toge race, but
Mm-hmm.
of course not in the streets. But for these guys, they're able to set it up in a track, right? Like for example,
Yeah.
I think BRC was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, BRC and Clark, we always get the segment and customize the layout to be able to use it. Maybe sometimes with cones, sometimes with no cones. It's never a full track. It's
Mhm.
always just about a half track, which is good for the car, good for drivers because they're not stressed out too much.
Yeah, and I would also think that it's also to boost engagements among the participants, since I
Yes,
think you guys gather a huge crowd, right? Since you mentioned majority of the drivers are using daily driven cars, so I guess
yes.
the volume is pretty high. So,
That's
yeah,
true. That's true.
nice, nice.
So
Wow.
like I think it should be around 90 to 95% are street driven cars. Like those with like completely gutted interiors, roll cages. Those are like super super few. Konting-konti lang yung tunay na race cars. Although you get the best of the best joining too. So like if you're talking about experienced drivers, you have Don Portugal bringing his street cars there and his race cars. You have like Felix Perez and Paul Perez, who were legends in Subic days before. So Hernel Castillo, you have very good drivers joining. Even Inigo Anton joins sa Tarlac.
Yeah,
Uh, and you don't get to see that and you don't get to interact with these people on a normal basis. So that's a very good opportunity to be talking to them, diba?
definitely, 100%. And to those who are really into it and making and even breaking records from every track and every event. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. And also, just a follow-up question here: do you believe that among other racing disciplines, does Touge Battle equip drivers with skills that can use in even other disciplines of racing?
Um, when it comes to proper driving, or I guess because for me, I always make a distinction between um when you say racing. When you say racing, I think this will go on to our next few discussions too. There's what you call grid racing and time attack or time trial. So those are two different disciplines. Grid racing is racecraft. So this is how you drive a car and make sure you're ahead of everybody else, your opponents side by side, right? So it's a totally different discipline. On the other hand, on the other side of the spectrum where we're in, time trial and time attack is basically racing against time and racing against yourself, racing against your previous personal best. So all you need to do is to make sure you maximize your drive, you maximize your car's potential, uh, and improve on your lap times every single time you drive out to the track. So that's the essence of time attack and time trials, right? That's Sparko track attack. That's forced time attack. That's Touge Battle is the same principle. In Touge Battle, they make sure that if you arrive early, they'll give you free pointers on how to drive, proper application of the gas, the brakes, turning, ganyan. But of course, racecraft, they won't be able to teach you because that's grid racing. That's totally different. That's the only part that you will not be able to learn in Touge Battle. Everything else about proper driving, you can learn there, whether it's from the organizer's free coaching during the morning or your discussions with fellow drivers during the day. Uh,
Wow. So So it comes down to this also this one question. Do you believe that racing is the future of purely for passion or for for self entertainment, basically?
well, uh, I'm okay. So if you look at Philippines history,
Mhm.
racing was actually a lot more popular before.
In the past, yeah,
Eh, From the 70s, 80s, and 90s, diba? You have like the Ramirez's, the Silverios, the Tuason,
yeah,
the Isadas. So all those people were on TV before, being broadcasted on weekends, driving different cars in Subic, whether sometimes it's a rally event, sometimes it's a grip racing event. So imagine these were being shown on TV prime time before. Ngayon wala, di ba? You don't see that on TV. Nothing.
none.
So it's less popular now. Um, well, it's hard to really put the blame on anyone or any specific scenario. But here's one thing that you think about. Philippines is the cheapest place to rent a track or to race in the world. You can't find that like 2,500 pesos to drive the whole day or to join an event for 1,000 pesos. Ganyan. You won't find that anywhere You go to Thailand, Buriram Circuit, you go to Sepang, you go to China's Guangzhou and Zhuhai. The range of event entry fees and track rentals minimum is around 15,000 pesos all the way to 100,000 pesos a day.
A day.
A
Wow.
day.
Wow.
Sa Philippines lang ganyan kamura. Na 1,000 pesos all the way to 4,000 lang for one whole day. You will not find that anywhere else. Our labor cost for mechanics is also the cheapest in the world. So if you were to have your car, set up and fixed and join events, it's actually the best to do it in the Philippines because it's so cheap, diba?
True.
It's so cheap. So I think there's a big future here if someone just took the initiative to really promote motorsports, especially now with social media. It's easy to promote things. You just need a very aggressive promotion here to get people involved because I think this the fact that the cost is the cheapest gives it the highest potential of becoming popular with the masses, you know, in the Philippines. Yun lang masasabi ko. I'm not sure if people agree with me or not, but I've been around the world and that's my observation.
Nice. Wow. To the viewers out there, here we presented a massive value of experience from Chris. It's actually a global trend actually that he has pointed out that getting started in racing in the Philippines is actually cheap. And even me, I was blown away. I didn't know even the going rate of track prices out there. So wow, thank you for sharing that, Chris. I mean, wow, it's actually it gives the viewers ideas as well that
Gives you perspective, diba? I mean, you always
yes,
have to compare to your neighboring countries and in the far west, in the east, how it's like.
true. And also, well, I have this vision that hopefully Philippines will be on the global leaderboard, even on in FIA events around the world, because you know only we can only name a few Asian countries on that leaderboard, even by our fingers. But I'm pretty sure Philippines is not yet there. But
Mhm.
hopefully one day we will get there, and
Mhm.
we should we have what it takes. It's
Yeah,
just
I'm sure we can do that. It's just a
definitely
mindset thing. Yeah.
definitely 100%. And also, what is your biggest takeaway from your experiences in racing? Like if an ordinary person were to ask, what value do we get out of racing?
I think okay. Everyone will have a different. Will be able to share a different experience here. But for me, one thing that I can share with you guys is that uh, everybody, and this is more philosophical, I guess. In life, I mean, it's not all about working. Okay, so it's not about and just going through the motions, eating your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You always have to look forward to something. So whether it's a hobby, a sport, or an interest, it has to be something that makes you happy, that makes you look forward to things. Okay, and for me, that's racing. So to other people, maybe it's basketball or golf. For me, it's racing, and for me, it's not just going through the motions of driving. It always has to have that goal of improving every single time you go out to track. Okay, so some people just like to drive. That's why they go on morning runs on Sunday. Not me. That's not me. I want to be able to do something that's measurable. So lap times for me is that thing that makes it measurable. Diba? So I gauge my improvement from improving lap times, whether it's in practice or whether it's in competition. It's always lap times. So I'm whether it's you improving your driving technique or you modifying a little bit of the car to make it easier to drive or to make it faster. So both of that is controllable by me. That's
Mhm.
why that's something I always look forward to every single time I go visit the track, whether it's practice or competition. And it's healthy. I mean, hindi siya, some people say bisyo nga yung kotse, di ba? Kasi you always spend on parts. Well, of course, you have to know your own limits. So magkakaiba na tayo lahat dyan. Some people will overspend relative to their income, ganyan. So, of course, like everything else in life, you have to keep that in control. But if that's in control, then this is a very good avenue uh, for you to, enrich your life. Again, it's not all about work. It's about finding something to do that you enjoy. And when you're with people in the same sport who share the same passion, it's definitely more enjoyable, and the relationships are gonna be more genuine and more sincere. Diba? So that's something you always look forward to. I've created like a group of friends, a whole new world of contacts and friends after I joined. Easily over 100 people that I'm now close to because I got into the sport, and that makes me feel good because it's like I've grown my family too. So yun yung masasabi ko.
Wow. Wow. Completely completely big value talaga ang experiences from racing, especially if I were to sum it up. Basically, you've made a community and
Mm-hmm.
and a scalable setup wherein you analyze times and build up every step of the way.
Yeah,
Wow.
you got it. I mean, you create a new community for yourself, and you create like a new purpose in life. Thereby, it's not just about saving money. It's not just about just eating in a good restaurant, or spending time with your direct family. It's about broadening your family. And my dad even goes with me to the races sometimes, and that he enjoys watching, and it's all done in a very safe environment. This it's in the mindset. I mean, you have to know your limits and be humble enough not to go over your limits. It's not all about like having the biggest balls or three balls or something like that. No,
Yeah.
no, it's not at all. I mean, it's once you're humble enough to know hanggang saan lang yung kaya mo,
Hmm.
then that humility makes it very safe. Okay. And one more thing that I noticed is after going to the track, being a track enthusiast, I now lost all my irresponsible habits in the street of speeding in highways, like that. Because, suddenly yung mindset is that risk return. What's the return for taking this much risk on a public highway, speeding on a public highway? Voila, nothing. You don't win anything. You don't measure lap times in the street. So because of that thinking, now suddenly hindi ka nahahataw sa kalsada ng wala sa lugar, di ba?
True.
Hahataw ka na lang sa racetrack. So,
That's right.
tapos sa
Yeah.
street, posible pang malubakan ka. Sayang yung mahal mong goma at saka wheels. Yeah?
Yeah.
Everything becomes more practical. So a lot of things fell into place after me becoming a track enthusiast.
Wow. So it goes to say also we're actually promoting road safety and responsible
Yeah.
driving since
It's a very controlled environment. Mawawala yung kate mo to be a daredevil on the street. No, wala na yun, wala na yun. It's
wala
not
na.
gonna
Yeah.
be.
And also we promote racing as well since one notable factor is from the streets to the track is that on the track you have a controlled environment. Basically, you get to see, you get to do whatever you want that's in there. Whatever damage or whatever challenges or burn tires, they all happen in the track and in the
Yes.
street. And then there are no dangers basically from the street or an unknown entity crossing the road, for example.
Mm-hmm,
We
mm-hmm.
avoid all that, and that's why racing is actually a good
Exactly.
outlet. Yeah, nice.
Mm.
Also, just to follow up on this, do you have a page where your viewers can reach out to you, like say a fan page or?
Uh, well, Well, with social media, we always have like you can always send me a private message on Facebook. Chris Ho, it's very easy to find. I'm sure we have a lot of common friends if you're watching this video.
Yeah, definitely.
In Instagram, you can find me. The name of my Instagram page is Ghetto Superstang. Okay, and I also have a second race car, which is a Civic Coupe SI Coupe, FG underscore Cuatro Cuatro. So on Instagram. So those are those are like my car diaries. So service, maintenance, and mods are all there with a date. So that's how I know when I put this and when I put that on the car. So that's like a diary for me, the Instagram page.
Wow.
And of course, few people know. Well, I don't know if it's few, but I also maintain a humor page on Facebook called Full Throttle. So that page is meant to just make fun of myself, of my cars, make fun of funny incidents in the automotive world. It's not meant to ridicule people directly. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's just to bring happiness and humor to everybody who's into cars. That's the whole point of that page. It's an outlet for us all to be able to laugh.
Yeah. Wow. It's actually pretty insightful given this pandemic and all the news out there. It's all just getting depressing at one point. But actually, to automotive enthusiasts, it's actually a nice outlet to even view pages and even to see the humor pages, since it sends a silver lining in this type of situation. And
Yeah.
and the reality now is that many of us miss racing now, since all offline races are postponed and they're all
Mm.
going online in the world of sim racing.
Uh, Everything is becoming, even professionals are going into sim racing now. I still have yet to experience that because I didn't grow up with simulation in computer games. So I have very little experience in that. And admittedly, I think I have to get into it because a lot of my friends are persuading me to, get a rig and go racing with them virtually using a network and using the internet.
Definitely, definitely. And also one of the nice things I discovered, if it's okay if I share, that
Yeah, sure.
actually this one game wherein you can replicate a track, the setup, the conditions, and actually practice it. Because
Which
namely,
one is that?
if I'm not mistaken, it's one of two games. It's either Assetto Corsa or R
Mhm.
Factor 2. That, if I'm not mistaken, one autocross track was made to mimic exactly one event just for someone to practice exactly the timing for the handbrake, and the timing of turns. I go, wow, that's one huge value that of racing simulation that many don't see right now. Eh? And
Ah, tama, no?
sabi ko that is a huge value, especially to those who want to fast track their growth in this. Because from what
Yeah,
we've
actually,
realized, yeah, yeah.
that is a very good idea. Now, one of my idols in the time attack world. His name is Will Au Yung. So he's a Canadian. He drives an Civic Si Coupe 2012. So that
Mm,
one is the one of the fastest, probably if not the fastest front wheel drive cars, time attack cars in the world. So that car has set like over a dozen records, and the latest one was I think in Tsukuba front wheel drive record, doing a 53 seconds flat on
whoa.
his first outing in Tsukuba. So the car was shipped all the way from Toronto to Japan. It takes about 2 to 3 months in the ship. When it
Mhm.
got out, it went around Tsukuba, and he said the only way he was able to familiarize himself with the track layout is through a simulation. So that's all he did was to practice in a simulation in a game. And when he got out to the Tsukuba, he said it was like 99% similar, that he didn't need any more seat time. He just has to, do some warm up laps, and I think on after about an hour into the day, he got his best lap, 53 seconds flat.
Wow.
That's crazy, diba? I mean,
It's
that's
very
crazy.
crazy. And
Wala nang practice. All practice was done in the simulation, sabi niya.
and
That's how good it is.
also to compare it, if one were to do that live, the overhead cost must be so high.
Oh yeah, of
Yeah.
course. I mean, how are you gonna be able to travel to different parts of the world? I mean, that's impossible, diba? You can only
Truly.
do that through simulation. So that's a professional. That's a world record, all done because he was practicing in a simulator. Yeah.
Nice. So wow.
Panoorin mo sa YouTube yun. That car has a lot of videos on YouTube. It's a Pikes Peak car as well. So he set records everywhere. It's mostly in grid life in the US. It's a Canadian guy, but in Asia, Tsukuba nakuha niya kaagad.
Wow. Now, even as an interviewer, even for me, I want to check it out since
Yeah, check it out.
Gran Turismo days ko lang na-experience ang Tsukuba. Kaya sabi ko, wow, this
I-
has to be given a try as well.
yeah, I know.
Also, to top off everything, what is racing in a nutshell for you?
For me, racing in a nutshell is an outlet. It's one of my purposes in it's living outside work. Okay, racing is living, but just like any other hobby, it may be different for other people. But for me, this is what makes me happy. I don't have to do this professionally. All I have to do is do this recreationally and hang out with the people who share the same passion, and this makes it fun for me. So that's racing for me. That's very simple. Nothing more to it.
Nice. To the viewers out there, wow, we just witnessed a huge, massive value from Chris over here, from his experiences from racing, and actually he's considering on getting into sim racing as well. So just like me and the rest of my group, and for Chris as well, it's very very possible that your learning curve can be greatly jump started through a racing simulator. So with that,
Mhm.
I would like to thank Chris Hall for your time. I believe
Thank you.
your time is very valuable and highly appreciated. And to the viewers out there, our time here for the interview is done, but your journey has just begun. So thank you again, and I will see you on the next interview. And Chris, thank you again.
Thanks,
Bye, guys.
Keanu. Have a good night, man.